Hello, everyone, and Selamat Pagi, Jakarta. How are you guys doing? Oh, the house is quite full now. Yeah. So, in the next 20, 25 minutes, what we are going to talk about is all about winning consumer attention. And like we have always been discussing attention as a quality metric. Now, attention as a quantity metric is gaining fast prominence, especially in the era of when it comes to effective advertising. So, as we know, as the multitude of media platforms and everything gets increased, the dwell time and the quality of messages, the exposure, the recognition time, everything gets very, very diminished. So it's time, like really the brands have to recalibrate and challenge the known theories. So what we do currently within the paid, owned, earned media ecosystem, it just needs to recalibrate in a nice way. And that's why we will have quite a snackable conversation on this, right? I mean, because it's a very, very deep topic, and we will have QR code here. So before we get into that, right, none other than our future consumer who is sitting there, Dinda, who will shape your brand's next growth story, will talk about how attention really matters to her. So, Dinda, why don't you talk a little more about your Z-verse?
Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Dentsu Connect 2022. I'm very honored to be here along with all the amazing panelists right here. And please enjoy the session, and let me take you into the universe of the Z-verse.
And there's the...
Yeah.
Okay. I think there was a video, there was this, so yeah. Okay. It's just not moving. Okay. Anyway, let's keep your conversation going on this thing.
Okay,
yeah?
sure.
Meanwhile, I'll try to see where to find your Z-verse thing. Yeah.
Okay, should
Yeah.
I go on?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So when we're talking about Gen Z, we're basically the generation who embrace individuality more than any other generation. But funny thing is, we're also the generation who's proven to be the most globally connected. And it's all because the world that we live in and we've exposed to from a very early age is pretty much borderless. And a very easy example for most of us Gen Z, if you guys are here, Gen
like
Z,
that.
we don't have to attend a nerve-wracking on-site
Then you can do
interview
that.
for our very first full-time job. And then, if we want to go to a random retail therapy, for instance, at 2 a.m. in the morning, we can simply do that just by being present at our bed or the comfort of our own home. And then the other thing that we have to mention is that how accessible the world is to us. We can simply book any appointments, any plane tickets, any movie tickets from the comfort of our own bed. However, when I mention borderless, it's not only limited to a virtual world. Borderless means everything that we're faced with is pretty much has no limits. For instance, we are exposed to a lot of different trends, various messages, new scenarios that we pick and choose from easily. And these various options evoke us to appreciate what brands has to offer in communicating with us. An experience that involves us to co-create as a Gen Z, that hears our voice, that inspires us, because after all, we're the generations of creators. Although, with all the brands available in the world, we simply don't have the time and luxury to interact with every single one of them. You're not the Gen Z when you are not familiar with adults or parents ask you to get off your phone, you spend too much time on the internet, etc., etc. But let me tell you this, being the scuba divers of this borderless world doesn't always mean a bad thing. We are, in fact, very aware of what's currently going on in this world. Climate change, racial and gender discriminations, child labor, we grew up watching, disastrous effect that it causes. That's why we're very fond and attentive when brands are bold enough to take actions and make impact. Our expectations towards brands are always increasing. Brands need to learn our behavior and where our attention lands, because there are no boundaries or limitations to consumers on connections and consumerism. With that being said, please, for all the brands, tempt us, excite us, and most importantly, grab our attention. That's all from the Z First. And now that you have seen the perspective from my generation, shall we move on to the more exciting discussion? Arindam?
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful, Dinda. And I hope you guys got the Z-versified language. So now, getting to the implication, Ashik. So, you know this, as we said, this metric has been getting very, very prominent. And it has been discussed in the last few months in various forums, right? Like attention. It has not been like very new, but over the last 10 months, it's been prominent. So I would like the brand builders who are sitting out in this, who have been paying. So where are we heading to, and what implications our marketeers should be taking it back? So if you can share some thoughts on that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Ari. I think, Dinda spoke with so much conviction that I feel like I almost don't understand Gen Z anymore, and I'm not even that old. But the truth is, I think what Dinda left with is very powerful, right? Grab our attention. Now, a lot has been spoken about recently in the Cannes Lions Festival about what is known as the triple jeopardy. And I'm sure all of us here in this hall can kind of attest to a few points here. Now, first is short-termism, right? Marketing used to be about long-term brand building and so much talk about how do you build a brand for the long term, but now we are forced to think in quarters, right? Whenever there's a recession, cost of living crisis, first thing that happens, marketing budgets get cut. Sounds familiar for all of us. That's jeopardy number one. Jeopardy number two is because we have so much emphasis on, appealing to the left side of the brain. We are so factual with our messaging. If it's a shampoo ad, we go, okay, it kills dandruff. If it's like a handphone ad, we say, oh, the camera is much better. It all appeals to the left side. Nobody's appealing to the right side of the brain anymore. And exactly like what Dinda mentioned, they love purpose. They love a story behind brands. And brands who go out there and get this are the ones that actually will succeed in the new attention economy, if you may. And I think Jeremy will speak more towards this, but the last jeopardy is about inclusion of human behavior in media strategies. So much of your advertising, in fact, there's a very good quote from Ad Age long ago. I know I have wasted half my marketing budget. The problem is I don't know which half. And that's a bit comical, right? Because we don't actually involve how much of human view do we actually have to our advertising spend. We just pay for very superficial metrics. So it's super important to include more attention metrics into our campaign planning, which I think Jeremy might be able to answer more about that.
Yeah, on that note, yeah, because what I know, Jeremy, you have been involved in this attention economy study and research for so long. I mean, and Dentsu is the first one to have initiated and evangelized this attention economy 3 to 4 years back, right? Like where the people even started talking and we were there. So just because we are having this first time open to this Indonesian marketing forum, just shared like if we need to land it here, what exactly would it mean to really, there is a planners community, the traders community, and it would be very exciting to know from you, yeah.
Yes, sure. So, okay, once again, thank you for inviting me to speak to everybody here. So, I'd like to provide a viewpoint about where Dentsu has been after the last 3 to 4 years. One of the slides which was missing earlier on, just to show what is the explosion of ads. If we are to look at since 1950s, average consumer may be exposed to maybe a few hundred ads. But if we are to fast forward to this day, nearly about, right now it's 2022, our study shows that they are exposed to nearly 3,000 to 4,000 ads. Now, what is the implication of that? If a single individual has 24 hours a day, how can he or she consume 3,000 to 4,000 of ads in a single day? That is not humanly possible. I will have to make that upfront. So with what Ashik has said, we need to have a new dynamic to how we understand how people are consuming media and advertisement. What we have found out is essentially that we need to look from the basis of attention. In this industry, we have been practicing on the opportunities to see. or impressions as a means of planning, as a means of buying to all of our communication strategy. We, Dentsu, in light of the ever-increasing explosion of ads, decides on this journey 3 to 4 years back, which is to include attention, to make it measurable, to be included in our planning and buying operations so that we can deliver more value to you. So this is an example of a study which we have done across the globe. Let's just say, for example, if you have 100 people who are exposed to your ad, using eye tracking technology, we realized that within the desktop, maybe 30% of them will have left the room. Then the mobiles, maybe 5% will just leave it on the table, for example. As we go further right, the results are even more distinct. Nearly 50% are not paying attention to your ads. And how do we measure that? We basically look at the eyeball using the latest eyeball technology. So can you really fathom the danger in this current day and age? If we plan based on impressions and impressions only, nearly 50%, like what Ashik has said, will be gone to waste. We need to find a way to reduce the wastage so that we can deliver greater value to all our partners, such as everybody in this room, as we move towards an attention-based planning approach.
Yeah, I mean, with that note, I mean, it's the right note you have hidden it. So, Ashik, in that way, because this would need a lot of these fundamental shifts and fundamental changes, yeah? And so it really like the econometrics of media or things would change. So like what would be your quick, tips to get the marketeers started? Like what are the basic changes we need to, or it is a complementary thing? You don't need to, you secure your basic fundamentals and what are the improvisations you need to do? Just quickly if you can touch upon that.
Yeah, I'm going to be really candid about this, right? I think there's so much of technological progress that happens in ad tech and all of that, but we still live in an era where foundations are super important. As much as technology moves on, I think you realize technology fails you at many times. I think as much as this mic or the screen, we have to rely on human behavior. So I think the first fundamental shift that I'll actually ask all marketers to do is to focus on the basic things, which is seeing, hearing, and engaging with your consumers. I think just a while ago I said about, so much of what we do is left brain creative communications. Now that has to completely go. In the new era of attention economy, think about how do your consumers actually see your brand, perceive your brand, or engage with your brand? Do you have a good two-way communication? Now that's the first shift that we can make. Now, the second shift that you can make goes to your choice of agency. From a completely unbiased point of view, as WARC is an industry body, I can bravely say that a lot of media spend that we do, agencies do not have the necessary right attribution. So I'm very happy to see that Dentsu has put some very good proprietary tools in place to make sure that they are maximizing the client's budget. So push your agency to tell you more about where is the ads attributed to. And what kind of metrics are they looking at? I think that's very, very important. In fact, I think I have a slide on this if at all you guys want to take a picture, or there's a QR code later on.
Agencies are sitting here.
Many agencies
we are already being pushed, so
so it's very good. So ad recognition is going to be a new thing. So make sure your agencies are doing the right thing for you. And as a brand, I think you lead the communications of how your brand is perceived to your general audience or your future consumer. So like what Dinda has mentioned is super important to make sure that you're appealing to the right side of the brain. I think I've said right side of the brain like 3 or 4 times. So if anything that you guys walk away with, it should be that.
Yeah, and to execute, I think, that's a fair point actually, which you brought up. We do have this in mind, but obviously in terms of the execution and implication, when it comes to practicality and landing, we just try to get into our obvious things. So Jeremy, I'd like to again come back to that. What are the partners? I know a few of the markets which you have piloted, right? Some of the partners you have. So in Indo, what do you think, which are the partners who are ready to be really deploying this and whom we can start? Quickly just touch upon that, and then bringing back to in the Gen Z connecting this attention metric, because they are so scared. How do we activate this for the brands? Yeah.
Okay, so let me address the first
Yeah.
question. Who are the partners? Actually, there are a lot of partners, so to speak. Because just to highlight that we have been on this journey for the last 3 to 4 years. We are a member of the Attention Council globally. So we have been in practice integrating our operations, sharing our data with a lot of different partners. For Indonesia, and where Dentsu as an organization, we have aggressively tried to work with TEEDS, or to Playground XYZ, in fact, to our global partners, as one of the results that you saw earlier on, which is Lumen and T-Vision, to bring in all these attention-based capabilities into the Indonesia market. And the good news is we are going a step further, trying to make sure that it's included to all of our planning and buying operations. So it'll be a seamless conversation if for Dentsu, right, to engage you on any attention-based conversation. We know we have the global learnings. We can implement it, right, for this market, definitely. And as a final note, our next stage of attention, right, as you can see, is all about paying attention, but we are going to investigate, and there are partners globally, bear in mind, what is the effect of attention on emotions? Does it incite a positive emotions towards you? Does it make you excited? Does it make you happy? The long-term view of it, right, is attention is just the first stage. But the second stage is all about how it incites a brand perception, a feeling perception, and ultimately a better dollar in the bottom line.
I love your passion, how you're putting it out, like really loving it. So coming back to this Gen Z, what Dinda was just talking about, right? Like grab the attention, shared like the sign. What are those 2-3 things? What do the advertisers need to do maximize this Gen Z's attention and just like more?
Well,
More
I must
hard,
say
like
that-
what is the work? Yeah, what do we need to work hard more on that?
She did a very good job. In fact, I was
Yeah.
very excited because
She can
leads-
validate it here.
You know, she's a very good Gen Z. Because we did this Gen Z study about a few years back, and we need to realize one thing, that it's no brainer. They are all digital. That is a given. But what inherently different is they live within the digital world. And that means geographical boundaries, all these kilometers, how far is it, like, totally irrelevant. So they can communicate with a lot of people globally at any time of the day. So that means their social circle is inherently unlimited. They can have friends from here all the way to Japan or all the way to the US, for example. And that will also imply, right, that the form of communication, right, is also very, very much visual. Visual aids, emoticons, words, these are the main primary mechanism to which they convey their intention to one another. But among all of this, because of this network, visual, ease of information flow, the expectation towards brands, right, are also increasing. They are very much aware of the good things a brand is doing, but unfortunately, also the bad things. What we are here to say about is we need to change our approach to marketing, be a partner to them. So that is where, as a final note, I would like to add perhaps three hints on how we can market to the Gen Z better, and also to grab their attention, which is essentially the main currency for the future. Number one, we need to co-create an experience with them. They're not much interested in the push ad, but they are more interested in the experience that you can provide to them at the end of the day. Secondly, we think of co-creation of the experience. Co-creating content. They want to know that you are doing a good job. They want to know that essentially, right, they want to be part of a new world. As they explore this digital world, they want to be part of it, and they want you to co-create this new world of infinite possibilities. And the last but not least, and also is the fundamental, is the ability to challenge them. Because they live in a world of possibilities, they want and they crave people and the ability, right, to challenge their mindset, challenge their way of thinking. Because only through that kind of exchange of challenges, then they can realize their full potential and also perhaps create new possibilities within the digital world.
Yeah, and I think it's all about, marketing is all about like resolving and solving the challenges. And I would love this discussion to go on, and this is such a deeper thing, and I think, Dinda, you validate what has been Jeremy or Ashik has been saying. So to everyone, I mean, who would learn to know more and deep dive and want to take a look into the WARC white paper and Dentsu's white paper on attention economy and Gen Z study, please do download the QR code, would be flashing in a minute. And so while we don't have, and we are happy to take question and answers right up in the session. So thank you so much for having us, for listening to us, and thank you guys for getting, and I hope you guys enjoy this. And yeah, see you and talk to you more about it. So don't forget to download this paper. Okay, thank you so much.